Now, Marty, of course, it is Western Derby Day. Would love to hear from our listeners. Some predictions coming through for who you think's going to win the Western Derby, by how much, and who's going to win the medal.
Okay, so who do you think?
I think the Dockers will win by about 26 points, and I'm going with Josh Tracy to have a big game. For them to win, he needs to have a big game, and he's a big, powerful unit. I think he is set to become one of the top few forwards in the competition. Even with the ball not coming down all that swiftly, he has been imposing himself on the contest. I thought he showed really good signs last week. If they can just give him a little bit of service, I think he will come up trumps and deliver big time with a big bag in the game today.
Okay, well, I'll go with your boys. I've tipped them. I need them to win. I think North Adelaide will give it to North.
I love that game from a punting perspective, Marty. Adelaide, through that attack piece that I put out, has been the side that we've made plenty out of in the first couple of rounds, and we're going again today on the game total points over 187.5. Weather looks to be fine over there. North Melbourne averaging over 100 for the season. Yep. Adelaide averaging north of 130 off what we've seen the last fortnight. Neither of these two sides are all that strong defensively. That means that this is likely to be a very attacking encounter, and Adelaide have got a forward setup that can pile on goals very quickly. So for me, that's a standout bet for the weekend for me. I've got it as the last leg of about 6 multis that are running, so I'm cheering very hard, regardless of the result, for it to go over 188 there today.
All right, I'll go for the Dockers to win. I'll go for Sarong. He was well held last week. He's a sort of operator that'll bounce back off that, I think. So Sarong to win the medal. Probably the margin, 15, 16 points around there. But how lucky were they that it wasn't yesterday that game played? Because yesterday at around start time for the match, it was absolutely stinking.
Stifling. For this time of year, really, really uncomfortable. And it looks like today's not going to be, phenomenal, but it's certainly far from being terrible, around that 30 range.
I think that storm that's come through has just broken it all up. We were walking around the river last night. It was a magnificent night.
Yeah.
And the beautiful HG said to me, we need some rain. And she was on the money.
Perfect.
She thought it's coming, and it's just broken it open. And
love that. Isn't it a beautiful time? You get that really strong wind sort of start coming through, and you can just start to feel that little bit of a change, a bit temperate, and should be wonderful conditions for a big game. And look, Freo, they're no morals.
They're no morals.
The reality is they've lost their last 6 on the bounce. I like their list, but they need to start finding ways to make the most of it. And if they do not, then the pressure on the coach is going to be enormous. This is not a game that they'd want to be dropping.
They doesn't want to be close late because they'll get the jitters.
Correct.
You would think so.
Saw that last week.
What is it? 76-7 points has been scored against them in the last 10 minutes of the last 5 games, which is outrageous.
Because the other thing is that you've got to realise about Fremantle. So we now know that they're known as that last 10 minutes of the game is horrendous. Let's go the other side. They're one of the worst starters in the competition as well, and have been since Justin Longmuir has been in the chair. So they've got the tag of being average to kick off and terrible to finish. So you want to make sure everything in the middle's pretty good to be winning games.
Lines up. Hey, Betty from Bunbury sent one through. Wow, boys, what a win it was from Joker's Grin there yesterday. Absolutely bolting, nowhere to go with 200, and then just burst through. He's our new superstar, and no, I didn't back it. But
it was stunning.
Yeah, stunning. And a lot of times too, it'll look better than it did because he's one of those short, sharp, sprinting type horses. I want to see him now go to 1,200 and do it. Sure. He should be in the quokka. I don't know what the story is, what's happening behind the scenes. I know nothing. Schultz, but let me tell you, he should be in the quokka. And Bernie Miller should be having him ready to win at 1,200 metres.
If you can light that fuse, there is absolutely that real ping on the horse, and that was outstanding there yesterday. And well done to Lucy Fiore as well there yesterday, Marty. It was a great day in the saddle for her, having a great time, but she's a very popular young lady within our industry, and she absolutely lit the place up there yesterday, so well done to you, Lucy.
So get those texts in for Retrovision, 0427789571. We'll have last week's winner of the Sunday Saviour for you after 7 o'clock. We'll take a quick little break and come back with Simon Hill.
It's back. The Dongra Cup is the next of the famous picnic meetings coming our way on Saturday, April 19. 6 exciting events with tab and bookies on site. There's plenty happening off the track as well. Fashions on the field with big cash prizes. Plenty of bars, food vendors, kids' corner and live entertainment all day. And then party on after the last with Never Before playing until 11 p.m. After 102 years of racing, the club have expanded the patrons area. Contact the club on Facebook to enjoy the new members' facilities. The Dongra Irwin Races, Saturday, April 19. It's a whole lot of fun.
DAB Radio.
Well, it's a very good morning to Simon Hill, who joins us on the Aftermath. Hi, Simon.
Hello, guys. You all right?
Yeah, we're very well over here. Let's talk FA Cup.
Yeah, quarterfinals. 2 games overnight, 2 more to come today. Through to the semi-finals yesterday in the UK, Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest, who again needed a penalty shootout. This is the 3rd time in this year's competition that they've come through the shootout. And once again, it was their excellent goalkeeper, Matt Sells, who made 2 big saves in the shootout to deny Diego Gomez and Jack Hinchelwood Ryan Yates with the winning spot kick. So they're through to the last 4, and they did it all without Chris Wood, who, of course, is their main talisman up front. He got injured playing for New Zealand in the World Cup qualifiers during the week. So they're back at Wembley for the first time in 34 years. They haven't won the Cup since 1959. This might be their best ever chance. They're having a great season under Nuno Espirito Santo. And then we'll go to Wembley for the semi-finals. Also going to Wembley, Crystal Palace. They won the All-London affair with Fulham. Palace, as you might remember, reached the final in 2016 when a certain Miller Jedinak was their captain, and they lost to Manchester United. But they eased into the last 4 goals from Eberechi Eze, Ismail Assar and Eddie Nketiah. And to be honest, they barely had a kick for the first half an hour. Fulham were dominant, but couldn't find a way through. But it's a remarkable turnaround under Oliver Glasner. They went 9 games without a win to start the Premier League season, and there were 1 or 2 whispers about whether Glasner was going to be able to continue. But now they've lost, I think, only 2 of their last 15. They've won the last 5 in all competitions. And now they've got a big chance, maybe, of winning the FA Cup for the first time.
A very, very consistent run of form. The other of the finals to have a look at, there's 2 more tonight, 8:30pm. The first of them, Preston North End, $7.50. The draw at $4.50. Aston Villa, $1.42. And in the other of those finals, it's Bournemouth, $2.90. The draw, $3.55. And Man City at $2.28. How do you see these games unfolding, Simon?
Yeah, well, Preston are 14th in the Championship, and even though they've got home advantage against Aston Villa, they've got big selection problems for this quarter-final tonight. They've got a whole raft of loan players who are unavailable for one reason or another, including one player who's actually on loan from Aston Villa, so of course he can't play against his parent club, and they've got a few injuries as well. They've done well to get through to this stage, really, given that their league form in the second tier in England has not been that great. They are good at home, unbeaten in 15 matches at Deepdale, their famous old home, which goes all the way back to the 1880s. They've only ever played at one ground. And they haven't won the Cup since, I think, 1938. So that's a long time between drinks. But I think Aston Villa will be too strong for them, even though they've been a little bit up and down, particularly away from home in the Premier League. The signing of Marcus Rashford and Marco Asensio, I should say, have given them a new lease of life since arriving on loan in the January transfer window. So I think they should be good enough to get through and reach Wembley for the first time since 2020. The other one, probably a bit tighter. Obviously, as a City fan, I'm hoping that we can win through to Wembley. This is our last chance of success, really, this season, a very up-and-down campaign. But Bournemouth are going to be a tough nut to crack. This is only the second time in their history they've been in the last 8 of the FA Cup, but they're strong at home. However, they have had a little bit of a wobble in recent weeks, just 1 point from the last 5 in the Premier League, and they've never been to the semi-finals of the FA Cup. So that one's more of a toss of a coin. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes all the way to penalties. So I would imagine that the draw is probably the favoured result in that one.
Simon, switching now to A-League, and what a round we have had. It started off Friday night with MacArthur and Newcastle 3-3, and the goals kept coming.
Yeah, we've had 25 so far this weekend, with 2 games still to come. That game between MacArthur and the Jets on Friday night was a real cracker. Harrison Sawyer scoring twice to rescue, the second one to rescue a point in the 95th minute for the Bulls. All that after the Jets were 2-0 up inside the first 7 minutes. Lockie Rose and Eli Adams, the first of a double that he would score in what's becoming something of a breakthrough campaign for him. I'm not sure how much good that point does either club, to be honest. Really, both needed 3 if they were going to maintain their push for the finals. And the Jets in particular, I think, will be disappointed, not just because they led 2-0, but they lost all 3 goals to unmarked headers, and that will be irritating for Robbie Stanton, their coach. But congratulations to Harrison Sawyer, who made his A-League debut back in 2017, and he's had to wait all this time to get his first goals. He had a long spell away from the A-League in between, but he'll feel a lot better after that double. The other games yesterday, Wellington 2, Western Sydney Wanderers 2. Similar story, Western Sydney Wanderers twice coming from behind to earn a point. Corbin Piper putting Wellington ahead. Bozidar Kraev equalised against his former club, 1-1 at the break. And then Francisco Chico Giraldez got his first goal in the competition for the Phoenix. Looked likely to give them all 3 points. But Nicholas Milanovic popped up in the 89th minute to equalise, his 10th of a very good campaign. There's a fair bit of talk that he should be selected for the Socceroos. That point all but ends Wellington's hopes of finals football. The Wanderers a point closer to a second finals spot since 2017. And the other game last night was the one that I called at Allianz Stadium. Terrible pitch. Confusion over the rugby league lines. We've really got to do something about all this. But anyway, the game was a cracker, and Melbourne City deserving winners in the end. I think they finished strongly. Goals from Mehdi Mehmeti and Max Caputo, twice equalised by Sydney by Jordan Courtney Perkins, and then the brilliant Douglas Costa. But Alessandro Lapane won it in the second half. The former Western Sydney Wanderers player on his first appearance of the season after knee surgery. So Sydney now 3 points outside the 6 and struggling to make finals football, even though they're doing very well in Asia at the moment.
A couple of games remaining in the A-League later on today. Our Perth Glory go in as $3.45 outsiders. Central Coast $1.95, the draw $3.70. And at 2 o'clock WA time, it's the Brisbane Roar $4.40, the draw $3.60. Auckland FC, warm favourites there at $1.75.
Yeah, I can't argue with those numbers, to be honest. I should also mention, by the way, before I get on to those games, that I missed out the other match, which was an absolute belter between Victory and Adelaide. Won by Victory by 5-3, a couple by Daniel Arzani in that one, and a couple for Nikos Virgos, who came off the bench late to win it with 2 goals when the score was at 3-3. The games today, Mariners against Perth. I guess the focus for Glory has got to be avoiding back-to-back wooden spoons. They're back on the bottom after that loss to Brisbane last time out before the international break. The Mariners are not having a great season themselves. They're deposed champions. They can't score goals. But I'll take heart from their last game when they came back to earn a draw at ladder leaders Auckland before the international break. The bonus for Glory is that they've got Adam Taggart back. Even though he left the Socceroos camp early with a bit of a groin problem, but he seems to be fit enough to at least be a part of the squad today. So that gives them a fighting chance. But I think the Mariners will probably be too strong at home. Similarly, Auckland, even though they've had a bit of a wobble, they've drawn 3 consecutive games now, but they can go 7 points clear at the top if they can defeat Brisbane. And I fancy that they will do. Brisbane haven't won at Suncorp in over a year. So despite that win at HBF Park a few weeks ago, they've really struggled at home this season. So Auckland have got the finishing line in sight, looking to become the first ever New Zealand team to lift a trophy in the Australian National Leagues. And I think they'll take that step today.
Alrighty, so Central Coast into Auckland, $3.41, that little multi there if you're teaming up with a favourite in the A-League later on today. Simon, just quickly, really encouraging signs from the Socceroos there last week in the third round of World Cup qualifying. 5-1 winners over Indonesia and then butted up with a very nice 2-0 win over China. Really important fixtures for the Socceroos, banking those 6 points, and now leaves them in clear-cut second position on the World Cup Group C qualifying table. 3 points clear of Saudi Arabia and 4 points clear of Indonesia. What are your confidence levels like now with the Socceroos, given those two performances as far as the auto qualifier for the World Cup from here?
Yeah, certainly a lot better than they were before those two games. It's been a difficult campaign for Australia. Obviously, a change of coach after the first window, which was disastrous when they only took 1 point out of 6. But Tony Popovich has certainly steadied the ship. They were very good against China, although, in fairness, China were awful. How a nation of 1 billion people can't put together 11 decent footballers, I've no idea. But they were very good in Hangzhou. Probably a little bit less so, despite the scoreline against Indonesia. Indonesia dominated the game, really. But Australia were clinical in taking their chances, which is all you can ask for. So, yeah, look, it's looking good. Obviously, the final window in June is tough. They've got Japan at home. Now, Japan are already qualified, so we don't know what sort of a team they're going to set out, but they're always dangerous. And Saudi Arabia away in Riyadh is the final group game. So it's probably going to go down to the wire. I think they will probably need to go to Riyadh and get a point. They're capable of doing that, but it's not certain, but it's looking a lot more probable after this last window, that's for sure.
Well done, Simon. Thanks for that, and all the best with the Sky Blues tonight.
Thanks, mate. All the best.
Thanks, Simon.
Blah, blah, blah. Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at its best on Tab Radio Racing and Sport. Yeah,
just cover off on Shayne Racing today too. We've got a couple of Group 2s. The Chairman's Trophy is race number 5 and race number 7, the Sprint Cup. They're warming up for the big Champions Day. Car Ying Rising back in action there today. And
4:15, Marty, Car Ying Rising. Make sure you tune in to see that picket fence form continue on this afternoon. 13 career starts, 11 wins, 2 seconds. David Hayes, the comments that he's made on the way through remind all of us what special horse this is.
And we spoke to Tom Wood on Friday about that, and I did say this Helios Express just keeps running into a better horse, doesn't he?
You mentioned Haylist, and I thought it was a really fitting comparison, Marty, to use.
Got a bit of Haylist about it, hasn't it?
Big time.
Tom Wood's tips. Race 1, number 5, Mission Strike. Race 3, number 7, Car Ying Glory. And race 4, number 6, Dashing Pal. HKJC.com. Hop on there for all of that information. Great racing there today. Well, our next man is James Sullivan, and there were some upsets yesterday in the NRL, Sul.
Hello, Marty, David, listeners. There was some upsets, but I think, and I did say to the boys on Thursday, and I did say to you Friday, and the one was just glaringly for me, and I gave myself a couple of jabs to the jaw last night, and I thought, what a knucklehead you are, because when I looked at it, the Dragons have won 3 of their past 4 versus the Storm at Cogra.
Yep.
Shane Flanagan, this is a record no one else has got. Before, like yesterday, had won 5 from 7 v Bellamy. Now it's 6 from 8.
Yep.
And they were good. They were good, the Dragons. They did a job, and good time to get the Storm, though.
It was.
Did say that. They had some quality out. So good time to get them, but Dragons desperate after the bye, got their first win.
Yeah, they were good. And they, as you said, that record that they'd built, the self-belief was there. They were able to get the job done against the Storm, a really important victory for them. Saw a couple of highlights from these other games last night. So let's go to the Sharkies Dogs game. Gee, there's a lot of excitement building about these Bulldogs. I'll tell you what, the fizz is pretty significant, and there's a few of these boys that are in the Sully favourite bin. And I speak of Big Bronson Cherry and also Stevie Crichton. They're 2 of your favourites, so you're generally throwing one of those 2 out when it comes to try-scoring multis and the like. And they both got over Cherry twice, and Crichton was also there. He was one of your standouts for the weekend to get over the line, but the Doggies, they were very impressive, and this was a game that there was no love lost.
Oh, no love lost at all, and a lot coming out of it this morning, guys. And as you said, the Bulldogs remain the only undefeated side in the NRL thus far. They had not won at Shark Park since 2011.
Ooh.
And they got some serious cattle out too. You know, when you think
yes.
Taraz, Burton,
kick out.
You know, these guys aren't there. And this was massive. I thought Bailey Haywood and Toby Sexton very good in the halves. And I think the big thing is that the 58th minute where Reed Marnie, out of order, boys. I heard it said this morning, it was a dog act. He's come in and just hit the, late tackle. Probably should have been sent, to be honest, or at least to the bin. That changes the game. But what we did see, we saw a real bit of steel in this Bulldog side. And, the bottom line is that was an upset.
Big upset, but, gee, you've been pushing and pushing for this dog side, and they're starting to, they're top of the ladder now. And as you said, they did it without three of their best. But what does it say about the Sharks? Again, are we going to see the Sharks when they're really put under the nap that they're no good?
I'm starting to feel that way, Marty and Shorty, because what we've seen it over the last few years. And in these games, when you expect them to stand up and you want to see Trindle and Nico Hines just take the game by the scruff of the neck, they don't. And they did have their opportunity. You mentioned Bronson Cherry before, Shorty. What a return. Back to Shark Park. We know that's where he was. And when he was stood down from the drug scenario and, mate, 2 tries last night. That's not a bad homecoming.
Oh, my word. Yeah, he absolutely put his stamp all over that contest. Also, we saw the Cowboys 30-20 winners over the Raiders. But, Sully, there was one try in particular in this game that was an absolute belter. Xavier Savage, they put the ball up in the air. Xavier Savage at full tilt has hit the ball, taken a good old-fashioned sort of almost Nick Rewalt-like when he took that mark running against the traffic in years gone by, took it, and the momentum he had up was unbelievable. It was a stunning try from Savage, but that was wallpaper over the cracks because the Cowboys went on to win the game pretty comfortably in the end, 30-20. It was a really important win for them.
He's rocks and diamonds, isn't he, this young boy, Xavier Savage? And you mentioned that where he outlet, well, Drinkwater probably didn't get off the ground too high, but he still did. But with 12 to go, Xavier Savage has made the break down the right-hand side. The game is evenly poised. All he has to do is pass back inside to Owen Paddy. Owen Paddy scores. Raiders are back in front. Savage, no, I'll take you on, Scotty Drinkwater. Because Scotty Drinkwater said, do it at your peril, and chopped him to the ground. That was a moment that, for me, just defined the game. Cowboys desperate. They needed it. First win of the year.
So it had a little bit of me about it, didn't it? It was a really greedy act. He had his man wide open in open space, and it was just a little bit of check me out moment. And it was in any sport, it's so important to just make sure you keep your teammates involved and hit the right option. And he went a little bit over the top with the thoughts of himself getting over the try line once again. And it's little moments like that, as you said. Momentum's everything in sport, and that moment passed, and to the credit of the Cowboys, they were able to turn that momentum around and go on for a good win.
Yeah, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Credit to Scotty Drinkwater, because these guys, they do the videos. They know that as a rule, Savage likes to tuck the ball under and just go himself. So, he committed to the tackle. He could have gone inside for Paddy, but didn't. So, fair kudos to him as well. But as you say, I thought that changed the game, to be honest, boys.
Certainly did. It certainly did. And Cowboys need that win. And, the Raiders did. I think the Raiders are the Raiders, aren't they? So unless you can take over from Ricky or something like that, put a bit of steel into them, they're a bit up and down for me.
Oh, they can be. I tell you what, wasn't it horrific conditions? I think it was 87% humidity. We don't normally see a lot of drink breaks in NRL, but we had the 20-minute break, drinks break. We're basically playing quarters last night. But to be fair, it's the same for both sides. But, yeah, you're right. After such a good start, and obviously they beat the Broncos their first home game, and then now they've lost 2 in a row. They had their pants pulled down at Brookvale last Sunday, and then obviously haven't been home. They went straight up on Monday to Townsville. So plenty of time to prepare, but weren't good enough in the crunch, as we mentioned.
The 2 Friday games, quickly back to them. Then we'll look at our 2 Sunday matches, and it was the Roosters 12, Titans 30. Roosters got away to a good start. Titans look good, and then the Dolphins 12, Broncos led early and covered that match okay. Dolphins coming back at them late. So 30-12 to Titans, and Broncos 20-12 to the Dolphins.
That's a good win, the Titans, their first trip to Allianz. They'd be happy with that. As you said, Roosters started well, but the Titans finished strongly. I think, and we have mentioned, I think they're a side that'll build throughout the year, the Titans. I'm like what Des has, it's his second year at the joint. The second game, I hope the listeners listen to the drive on Friday. Marty, we threw out the Broncos 1-12.
You
nice
did?
Price at $3.25.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's hope they got something. Dolphins, unfortunately, as I said to you, they could be 0-9. And you can look good, you can play hard, but you still got to grab 2 points. And at the moment, they're not. Mind you, they've got the Panthers this week. They might think they're a live chance.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's that, and isn't it refreshing for the competition for the first time in a little while to not have the Panther domination going on? It's still very early, and given the quality on their list, I'm sure they'll build into their season. But at the moment, on what we're seeing, it's great to see some different sides up there pressing to have some success in the NRL this season. We've got a couple of games left to go today, so let's see if we can't get a few bucks out of these. We'll kick off with the 105 game. Manly, $1.16. They're hot. The Parramatta Eels, $5.30. Line betting is big. It's at 17.5. Total points at 53.5. And the later game at $3.15. West Tigers, $1.64. New Zealand, $2.25. That line's 3.5. And total points 45.5. The over's been well backed into $1.85 there. How do you see these two games unfolding?
And just quickly, the Dolphins got the Titans this week, then the Panthers. So if anyone's listening saying Sully's gone a week early. But I'm on my way to Brookvale now, actually. Oh, yeah, I do like to go early. I'm on my way to Brookvale as we speak, boys. The sun, there's no sun, but it's not raining at the moment. This is an interesting one, isn't it? Both sides, so much turmoil the last couple of weeks. It started with Dylan Brown at the Eels, and now we all know what's happened during the week with Daly Cherry Evans. But, you know, at home, Tom Trbojevic comes back into the side. I think our big man, one of my favourites, I think Ola Kawatu might be in for a big day today. He's going to terrorise the edge of the Parramatta defence. Parramatta they were better last week, but at home, I think the Sea Eagles, for me, should be too strong. And then that next game, wow, Campbelltown Sports Stadium, two sides, they've both won 2 in a row. West Tigers looking at winning 3 in a row. That hasn't happened since Jesus was a baby. A long, long time. And then, obviously, we know with the Warriors. So, it's funny, you know, someone said to me the other day, what's the winning percentage of the Warriors at Campbelltown? And I said, it's 36%. I said, but don't get excited if you're a West Tigers supporter, because yours is 40. So there's not much difference. But let's have a little play. About $4.79 we'll get for this. Sea Eagles to win by 13 or more. West Tigers 1-12. The Warriors, they won't let them get away. So Sea Eagles 13 plus. West Tigers 1-12, 4.79.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably my play of the day, boys. It's about $2.40. Same game combo. I want Homoli Olakau'atu to score, Manly to win. That's it.
Okay.
Olakau'atu score, Manly win 2.40, and then we'll go Olakau'atu into Alex Seafar, $8.80, score a try any time.
Beautifully done. Now you're going to send them out on socials while you're just so eloquently naming these names of these NRL players. The first try scorer for the Roosters on Friday night.
Oh, our man's back, wasn't he? Nawonga Nitawase. He has become a revelation, hasn't he?
Yeah, well,
love it.
I'll leave that to you, Sal. I can't get it.
Well, no, Mark, Nawonga Nitawase.
Yeah, it's easy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Just
hey,
don't look at the spelling.
I've got a couple for you at Wagga today.
Yeah, you got two?
Oh, look out.
There's one meeting in New South Wales today.
Yep.
That's it. The rest have been called off. We're going to Wagga.
Mm-hmm.
The Riverina, the heart of the Riverina. Race 4, number 2, into race 6, number 8.
Very nice punters. Let me just get this up here on Tab Touch for our punters so we know what's going on. So, Richie Bell, if he's tuned in, it's a pet hate of his.
It's a blow-up.
Absolutely. So I will read these out now, Sol, for the listeners so that they know they're getting on the right horse. Race 4, number 2, Gundy Guy. I see what they've done there with the naming of the outback town. And race 6, number 8, which is Brielle Rose. So we've got $4.40 Gundy Guy and Brielle Rose at $2.90. Multi there, $12.76. Very nice, Sul. Very nice indeed. And they are taking place, if you're having a punt and watching this afternoon, race 4 Wagga, bang on high noon at midday, and race 6 will be taking place at 16 minutes after 1. So we'll be cheering hard. Wagga race 4, number 2, race 6, number 8. Elite work from you this morning, Sul. Enjoy your NRL and look forward to our chat next week.
Stay safe, boys.
James Sully Sullivan, what about this last night at the Maury Plan Invitational?
Knew that. He gets up alongside Law. Can he get to Kennedy? Not at the moment. Kennedy's in front. Gout's coming hard. Very, very hard. Kennedy's won. He's going to lead them into the straight.
Well, yeah, you could almost hear the disappointment in
the fans.
Can he get
in Brucey's commentary there. But this young man, we tried to get him on drive on Wednesday, Lockie Kennedy, because he'd just been beaten in the 60-metre indoor in Japan, and I still think he won it. And there's been a lot of controversy about it, but obviously, it's electronic and all that.
Geez, you want to get the start right over the 60.
Well, he got the start exactly right in this 200.
Yeah.
It was a magnificent run, and I know Gout was making a lot of late ground, but Gout learned a little lesson last night about running against the big boys.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all good experience for him.
Fantastic experience.
People forget how young this guy is. He's still
17.
He still hears the bells at recess and goes and has a little juice pack and a snack at 11 o'clock in the morning, Marty. So he's a kid.
The great thing is for Australian athletics, because young Kennedy, he's a 60-100 metre runner, and now question after this, he said, no, I'll run the 2s at the Nationals.
Excellent.
I'll have a go at it. And if you break it down in the time that he ran, it was terrific. And Gout running what I think is his 4th fastest 200 he's ever run, and wonderful meeting.
Marty, for people that don't know too, so Marty's been covering athletics here in WA and Australia for a really long period of time. It's a real love of his. He broadcasts a lot of athletics. I think back to when I first was involved some 20-odd years ago. And the great Dean Capabianca, through that period, Kappa was massive. Like
Shervo.
Absolutely,
Patrick
Matt
Johnson.
It was a time, though, where that's the last generation of gun Aussie sprinters that we had that could go to these big meets and actually compete in those sprint ranks, whereas in more recent times, like if you got someone through to a semi, it'd be a massive deal, and you'd know that they're every chance to run 7th or 8th in a semi rather than make it through to the final. But now we've got some really talented young guys coming through that are going to make athletics cool again. It's the first time it's been on outside of the Olympics or Commonwealth Games that there's been a meeting on free-to-air television for such a long period of time. So
really well done as well. Yeah, they do it well. Bruce does it well.
Big time.
Colbert's great.
Yeah.
They had Shervo there. I love Shervo's. You should go, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch his questioning of Gout after the race, and he puts it on him. It's not a little soft.
It's not being friendly. Yeah,
no, he said, you learned something here tonight, boy.
Yeah. That's great.
And
because we all want the best for him.
Exactly.
Like, straight away, he's such public property in a short space of time. He's become such a big talking point, and he's a special story. For a guy of this age to be doing what he's doing is remarkable.
And the way he runs, you shut your eyes. Well, don't shut your eyes, but you think it is Bolt. He's obviously copied. And it would have just got into his psyche.
Yeah.
And I'm that sort of tall. I should be running sort of 800s to 1500s. On the 1500s too, we've got another ripper here, this 18-year-old Cameron Myers. He is a ripper. Ran 3:34.98. Hall was back in 4:3:36. Peter Bowl, I thought, ran a disappointing race. He just got too far out of his ground. When you've got Myers, you've got a pacemaker. Myers running second. Hall running third. They're your main runners, first and second, if you're looking at the bookie board. Peter Bowl allowed himself to get too far back. They went a bit slow early. And then Myers said, my coach told me I've just got to back myself in and put it on the line all the way, running into a stiff wind down the back straight. And he put himself out there, and Adam Spence had a chance to run him down. And this young kid, he's only 18, remember his name, Cameron Myers at the 1500. He blew him away.
It must be, along with the 800, 1500.
I love the 1500.
Torturous though, because
tactical.
The speed that they're clipping along at for your stock standard sort of runner. You look, they're running almost sprint fractions, but for 1,500 metres, and it is that you can just imagine the anguish and the pain that they would be in to keep finding another gear and keep going. That's a special sort of person that can continue on and just keep on trucking up front. But the other really cool thing that's come out of the last week, Marty, since we've last spoken, was that finally the Queensland government and the Australian government have put some money into getting some proper stadiums up there in Queensland for the Olympics. This was shaping as being one of the most embarrassing moments in our nation's history, hosting an Olympic Games with outdated, horrendous facilities. Thank God that there's been a bit of common sense prevail, and it's something. I don't know why there are governments and people that oppose it. They're doing the same down in Tassie with the stadium that they want to build there. Have a look around the rest of Australia since they did the Adelaide Oval.
Have a look over here.
Optus Stadium, what it's done for Perth. The amount of tourism that it brings for your state. The experience for the people that want to go and watch sport and get around their local sides. You want them to be able to do it in comfort, Marty. So for me, this is a legacy piece. And thank God, it's taken a long time for them to twig it, but finally, it looks like we're going to get a great facility that'll be there for Brisbane cricket and Australian cricket for years to come, and the AFL, so Brisbane Lions and Gold Coast heading forward.
Don't forget the amount of criticism that went on about Optus Stadium.
Exactly.
And it was Barnett who built it. I'm not out there for Barnett.
No,
but he put up with a lot to get it there.
Yeah, thank God someone did.
Listening to Adam Simpson, I haven't heard much of him on radio. I like him. And listening to him on Saturday morning, and he went to lengths to explain to the Melbourne audience over there, and the Melburnians were lapping it up, how important Optus Stadium has been to Perth.
Yes.
Not just to the football public, to Perth itself.
Oh, so true.
Over there, they can see it.
Of course.
You see those drone shots heading back to the city over the top. It looks amazing with the river.
Spectacular. And it's been so good for tourism. It's been so good. I mean, think about when Coldplay came to town.
Yeah.
The amount of people that were flying into Perth just to be at that particular concert. Yeah. So that's away from sport. It's an entertainment facility as well. But even our business, for example, we've hosted our lunch for the Western Trilogy at Optus Stadium on a number of occasions in recent times. So it's a
Campfield,
place to be.
On, all those bars, the Royal.
So good. It's special. And we're so lucky to have it, and don't take it for granted. But I'm glad to see that they've signed on that up there in Queensland, and it'll be a legacy piece for a long time to come. But also just on that, coaches that are out of the game now that are in the media, how John Longmire hasn't already been snapped up by
I've seen him on there. I haven't heard him.
He's been on 360 with Adam Simpson, and so through the week they were discussing the run that he's had with Sydney and how he's kept them relevant in the market for barely missing a final over a period of 13 or 14 years. And the way that he speaks, it's common sense, but it's often lost when you get caught up in the moment in sport. But he has real, genuine clarity with how to prepare a team. He's had enormous success. If I'm in charge of a football club right now that's not doing so well, and you're looking for a proven operator to come in and take your club somewhere, I'm absolutely chips in on this man.
Would he come out west?
Light infantryman starting a move for Roche. Zardozi's 5 off the front, a gap of Tissue. Middle Earth still last with Shayne. So it's Pride of Jenny. She hasn't got away from them. At the 500 metres, Deny Knowledge coming with a looping run. And also Light Infantryman is queuing up. They've got to Pride of Jenny. She looks beaten. Deny Knowledge, 300 to go. Grabbed by Light Infantryman, Zardozi. Here's a Tissue down the outside as they reach the 200. It's Light Infantryman by about a length and a half. 2 in second. A Tissue, Zardozi, Deny Knowledge. Light Infantryman's out toughing them. 100 metres to go, a length and 3/4, and it's Light Infantryman. Brutally run race, but Light Infantryman's the stronger and won it by 2 lengths. Second race over the line.
There it is, with the finish of one of the great races on the Australian calendar, the Australian Cup. Racetrack Ralphy from racetrackralphy.com joins us. Hi, Ralphy. What a win it was for Light Infantryman.
Good morning, boys. Yes, nice Perth Carnival form, but also
Yes.
this was the market told you a few things pre-race, I reckon.
Indeed, yeah, a light infantry man. This is a tough performance handed in, and I guess Ralphy, the other interesting part out of the race was Pride of Jenny not able to put the brake on the field that we'd seen her do at the start prior, and there was a bit of talk on the social media in regards to how she's pulled up out of the race and the likes. A bit of a shame there, but gee, I tell you what, it's hard to take too much away from the winner.
No, that's for sure. So, fortunately, just landed as Vince Cardi's data.
Yes.
I've got lots of clarity here for your listeners here. Last year, Pride of Jenny, so we can talk apples to apples, Australian Cup at the 800 metre mark was going 15.5 lengths above benchmark. So she's a freak, and that's what she does. Yesterday, she was going 14.7 lengths below benchmark. So yesterday, she was actually going a little bit slower, and she was tailed off. So, there's always the right of the owner to do whatever they please, but when you've become a bit of a people's horse and you do that twice, I think it's time to retire.
Well,
so
you can only
stretch
that lackey so many times and then it breaks. With that style of racing, I reckon, Ralphie, it obviously hurts. Somewhere along the line it hurts, and maybe it hurt that time when she said no more for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the impossibility of trying to back up that brutal King Charles into the Cox Plate on a 7-day backup was the tipping point. But again, all honours, we said that last start coming back to Caulfield. But what I was sort of alluding to at the start was the market told you a couple of things. One was it was about $2.80 on the Friday, and it was about $4.20 pre-race. So that said lack of confidence, and particularly when, look, this is what makes the tape so endlessly fascinating, but how he could not line up light infantry man and attrition from their previous runs, I'll go he. Yet one was very confidently supported at $10, and I know it's $10, but it was still confidently supported $10, and attrition was friendless. Yeah, and one went forward and one was tailed off. So that really told you the Mar conference had the Mar team had supreme confidence this horse was going to go to a new level. And that's what he did. So I actually got a text after the race from a friend who I trust and said that apparently the horse was a little bit of a head case when he first got to Australia. So there's a logic to say that they've improved his demeanour, his mental attitude, he's enjoyed himself, and hence he's kept improving with racing, because this is a horse who had a bit of a boom on him when he first got here, light infantry man, and yesterday he completely delivered. Deny knowledge, she's got a bit of freak about him. I think she's the new Pride of Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
And her being able... So two things happen here. I know pre-race, she missed a start. This is what happens when you've got such a phenomenal judge of pace in Craig Williams. He had no interest in going to the lead, even though the horse's capacity was... She still could have shared that lead. She was the only horse in that field who could share it comfortably with Pride of Jenny, and he didn't. So that told you how fast they were going. And so the fact that she kept kicking back and hit a real flat spot from the 400, 200 weeks wasn't just visually. I'm just looking at Vince's data now. That also, it's actually in actuality that she was coming again on the last 200. So she's remarkable. I think Zardozi and Atishu found their level. And Middle Earth, I think he's going to be a dynamite stayer, but he was run off his feet yesterday.
Geez, someone's had 100,000 on Middle Earth and left that one in the bag. Right, let's get back into this. Opened up with a Little Deep. Ma and Jamie Mellon win the first.
I think she's on the way to a stakes win in South Australia, this horse. She was dynamic first up last prep 2 at Caulfield, and then she won a listed race at Moonee Valley. So I think this was, in quotation marks, a bonus win on the way through. The fact that they chose to run her with a big weight again, and not just a big weight, but big weight gap on and everything else, said there was a fair bit of confidence. And she ran to a really good trial leading in. I'd say there's great confidence here. We should put an overview here that unusually yesterday, due to the crosswinds, everything wanted to stay to the inside. So there are going to be horses that were in the wrong spot. I think Bossy Nick, on a normal day, in quotation marks, where they're making runs out wide, might have won yesterday, but she won't be beating a Little Deep going forward, because a Little Deep's going to explode off that. Zasu's in for a good prep too, even though it was race 1. This is actually one of the better races on the day.
All right, on to race number 2, the Vobis Gold Plate for the 2-year-olds. Prestige Ole Benny Allengy rode this confident, defeated Amazaki and Polish Playgirl.
Yeah, I think not much in there, not much coming out. Both these 2-year-old races, which I'll bracket here. I think Amazaki, Anzac
day, there's a 1,400 for 2-year-olds again. So that was a nice debut, a little bit of money for it. So I think it'll improve from that. And Recuperato, the Galligatus boys, got the money here.
Yeah.
And it just dominated late, but again, pretty plain on the figures here. So we'll always wait for the 2-year-olds to sort of compare better with the older horses provided, like gravitating to them.
Good win of Athanatos over the mile here for Philip Stokes and Dan Stackhouse.
Yeah, he dominated. And he deserved to as well. You know, he didn't have much luck at Sandown, and then ditto previous run at Caulfield where Benegal had the wide lane advantage and the momentum, and he was sort of in that barrier one coffin position. But he dominated here. I think Ndola's now ready, and for similar, you know, they tried him in the Australian Guineas, probably wasn't up to it, and he missed a start, and then he had that sort of tweener. Soft tempo was against him. If he can find a big field, I think Ndola will find a win soon.
Ralphy, what's our hashtag? Winners win. Angzudo, race number 5. Horses absolutely in the zone right at the minute.
Can I throw in the other hashtag of all-important weight differential? Is that too big a hashtag?
We can sneak that in.
The market just wanted to crush Helsing, and I was just thinking, hang on. Exudo was a miler, and at 1,400 it was a bonus win coming back in trip last start. So back to a mile was perfect for it, and there was a weight swing against it from Helsing, and you end up getting a good price. Exudo, God bless it. So that was a nice win. Probably is at its level. Hollymans was a nice return, and I think Hollymans is something that will probably be ready next start. Immediacy, maybe one more, but a very nice return, very big race for Immediacy. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a South Australian 2,000 metre race for it coming up.
Another hashtag for you, straight racing at Flemington. Joyful fortune.
Hashtag coma.
Yes. The only thing you know is you don't know, and anyone who tells you they know, they don't know. Let me tell you that.
Well, 100%. It just what it is, it adds variance to a very tricky sport anyway. Yeah. So, you know, and again, this was what I want to talk about. That everything was against the outside rail. So, if it was a normal day, Spacewalk probably runs down the outside and blows the others away. Gee, they're good trainers, the Hayes boys. I mean, what did it miss? 800 days racing, Joyful Fortune. It was big in the first up and over 1,200. Didn't handle the wet track in the Lightning, Group 1, and then you know, it wasn't hard to find from a value perspective. But again, had the right spot. So did Major Share. So did Midweek. So Spacewalk didn't. What interesting is it might have been a spark to form me from Sons Dude. Best last 800, 600, 400, 200 a day. On
to the listed Sprint Classic over the 1,100 metres. We got something here. Ralphy, Alabama, Lass the Star. New Zealand filly came to Australia and showed us that she can bring that form across the Tasman, because it was a tremendous win and beautifully rated by Craig Williams.
And what a caper. Best bet at Gallant Sun previous start. Got beaten at even money or whatever it was. And there it was running second at 40s. So I think Alabama Lass, that's probably a level. I'd be a bit wary, particularly how the track was playing. But Gallant Sun is going to win several races. I reckon there's a stakes race in South Australia. He just completely lost the plot last start late. So I think that's a very good sign. He's got a lot of talent, that horse.
Special kudos there to Craig Williams. I thought that was an absolute gun ride.
100%.
The Roy 100%. Higgins, it was Deacon. Oh, gee, it got a bit scary in the end. I was looking for the parachute shoot. Don't worry about that. But held off Berkshire Breeze and Mostly Cloudy.
Yeah, maybe one of the horses to follow. I think Berkshire Breeze are going to run a bold race in Sydney Cup off that. So it might have been enough for the prep Deacon. Yep. Probably not ideal. They'd have 5 weeks between runs, but it's definitely an emerging stayer, and good on them for getting the ticket. But I'd say from a horse's to follow perspective, with a lot of confidence, Berkshire Breeze will run well in Sydney as an each-way proposition, and that first race is where there'll be a bit of gold with a Little Deep and Zazu.
All right, quick word on the D's yesterday. It wasn't one of their finest. I know there's a lot of cattle missing, but it could be a long year.
Yeah, 4-minute mark in the last quarter. Thanks for asking. That's when I was out the door, so on the way to the car by then.
I tell you what, at least you missed the run home traffic, Ralphie. No problems of missing out on a run up the home straight, which is always handy.
All the best.
Absolutely, boys.
Thanks, Ralphie.
Narrogin Racing today, main event is race number 6, the WA Provincial Championship Series Heat over the 1,190 metres. Platinum Shot, our favourite at the moment, at $3.10. Keep those texts coming in, 0427 789 571. Many entries last week. In fact, I think it was a record, David. No winner.
No dice, no winners there from Soph this morning. Just quickly too, today, if you're doing your early form, the meeting at Kyneton has been abandoned and the meeting at Wellington has also been abandoned. And if you missed everything yesterday and you were under a rock, that meeting from Rosehill, and what a program it is. Geez, I'll tell you what, it's put a little bit of fizz in the step for Tuesday, Marty, because what's generally a pretty ho-hum sort of a day, you've now got the absolute pleasure of watching some tremendous group racing throughout the course of the day there at Rosehill. That program will get underway 9:30 WA time on Tuesday morning, but I dare say there'll be plenty of punters getting involved there.
On The Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Here he is. Old Moneybags, Bradley Hardie.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning. Shorty, good to be with you, boys. And, I'm not sure what's happened up at Kyneton. I think there's a portion of the track between the 1400 and the 1300 unraceable, Shorty, for some reason, so I don't know why. Make all the races 1200. Yes. Anyway, that's okay. That's the way it goes. Hey, Shorty, before we get stuck into it, I'm pretty sure you know this guy, or you did know this guy. We've lost a great mate in Gonzo. Gonzo's gone to heaven. He's unfortunately, which is terrible news.
That is sad.
He had a bit of an affinity with, I think it was called Row Racing over your way, mate.
Yes,
for a long time. Yeah,
met him a couple of times over the years. Ripper fella. So I'm really sorry to hear that, Brad. That is sad news. We pass on our condolences and love to the family.
Well, it was a big listener to you guys, and certainly to PR, and got involved, had a very good sense of humour and sarcasm. It was good, and it's a shame when you lose a part of the family like that. So, to his family and friends, we wish him them all the very best.
Okay, now Brad, before we get into our texts, we've got plenty to work our way through for Group 1 Morts at Retrovision. Let's go through the games of football yesterday. Started off with Melbourne and the Gold Coast, and Gold Coast just bristling. They haven't missed a gym session. They're big and strong and fast and good, and 120, and Melbourne 62 were poor.
Yeah, well, they're men now. I think that's the thing, Shorty. They're men now. They've grown up. Look, and I said to Marty on Friday, they had to get out of the place on Tuesday because they had to fumigate the place because there was a bug going through. And I sent them. I spoke to them post the game last night. I said, "You sure Melbourne didn't have the flu?"
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Check your mail.
They were awful. Yeah, but no. They said that they definitely all had to go home on Tuesday. Had to fumigate the Carrara Stadium, etc. for everything. They were really worried about it, but they have grown up. They really have, Marty, before our eyes. And look, it's not anything to write about because of the fact they beat West Coast over your way, Shorty, and then now they've beaten Melbourne, who appear to be absolutely, they were talking dynasties not that long ago. Unbelievable. They're all over the shop. So, but again, you can only play who you play and when you play them. So that was a really, really good win by them. Now, what they need to do going forward, and to really frank it, they have to beat a Collingwood or a Carlton or someone at the MCG in front of 80,000. That's what they need to do. Otherwise, they're going to get under people's guards, because I think this crew, they're all locked away pretty much, bar Rail at the moment. He'll probably sign for a couple of years till it gets to free agency. So from that point of view, they're growing up before our eyes, the Gold Coast Suns. And we were on them last year, Shorty. We're on them again this year, but we've got a better chance this year of collecting than we did last.
Yeah, that is the truth. A couple of things. So you're right, you can only beat who you play against, but last year their travelling form was abysmal. They've had 2 games to start the season, both on the road. Tick. They've won both of them. So given how poor they were away, other than up in their Northern Territory last year, this is a really healthy head start for the Gold Coast, because you won't see them losing too many games at home. If they can nick another 2 or 3 games on the road for the rest of the season, which off their first 2 games they're going to be capable of, they're going to be right there in the mix to finish in the top 8 in a very open competition. Couple of things, Brad, as well. They're recruiting excellent. You look at a win like this yesterday, and the importance of Daniel Rioli and John Noble with their creativity off half-back have been really important. And I also want to give a shout-out to a guy guy that's copped his fair share of whacks on the way through, Ben King, he had a really steady start to this game yesterday. He butchered 3 or 4 opportunities, and I was sort of listening in and watching at different stages thinking, this is the sort of game where you could walk away with maybe 3 or 4 points or 1 goal, 4 or something like that. He has shown maturity and walked away from the game with 4 goals, 3, and turned his game around within the game. I think that's shown a really good sign of maturity, and he now is one of the key forwards in this competition and will be pushing hard for that Coleman medal.
Yeah, he's a little bit like Tom Lynch was at the same age at 2.0, because Rocket Eade was coaching them back in the day there, and I said to Rocket, you've got to start getting Tom Lynch to jump through the line of the ball, Marty, as opposed to jumping around packs and trying to reach in and snatch the ball. And I think that what's Kings, both of them need to do that, because there's been a question mark on their DNA whether they really want to compete. We know they've got the talent, but, just whether they want to compete. But as you get better and you become more confident, and as you say, Shorty, you start doing things and it comes off, and you're not glove shy, so to speak, Marty. You start to do things right. But, he made it really, really tough for them over there. And I've read an article, you might have seen over your way, but you get to a stage where the captain got relieved of his duties and he wasn't happy about it. You know what I mean? But not Jared Witts. And they said they made Noah Anderson the captain. One ship, one captain. It didn't sit well with everybody initially, but it's really everyone's falling in the line now. They're harder, they're tougher, they're meaner, and they've just, as I say, they're just going to continue to do it. And what a game is going to be next weekend when they take on the all-conquering Crows.
Okay, quickly now, and that's up there, so that'll be a real interesting game. Let's see how Crows get through this one against North Melbourne today, sort of injury-wise first. But with Melbourne, they have got cattle out, but is it deeper than that? And I'm talking cattle like Windsor, Tholstrup, Pickett, Lever, important down back, or is it more than that?
Oh, of course. I mean, you've got to have your best charges on the ground, don't you, to make it work. But no, I've been worried about it. I didn't think it had come this quick, Marty. I think I said that. I was quite happy to bet against them making the 8. They finished 14th. They were spruiking it over the summer. Oliver's back and Petrarca's back, and they are. They're all class acts. There's no doubt about that. But I reckon Maxi's getting older. I just think he's war-torn now. I'm looking at Oliver. He don't hurt you. Even if he gets it 35 times, he doesn't hurt you. And Petrarca's the class act, but I just don't think he's going right to his level best at the moment. He's the first one, or he's the only one, really, they need to ping off. And most clubs are at least applying something to him, putting a little bit of pressure on him. Of course, Lever coming off his third man up, often that's that 2-man. They've got to divide and conquer when you've got May and Lever down there, but they're doing it pretty well. And the young boy Windsor, he's got a lot of leg speed, etc. But I'm worried about it. I thought it would come halfway through the season, Shorty. It's arrived a lot earlier for Melbourne.
I don't like their forward setup. In fact, even when they were airborne, it's never been a forward setup that you look at and think,
this is going to cut your part.
100%. But they won a premiership with it, so credit to them. But I think that's in the rearview mirror right now. And all the talk this week was, well, we've done with the talking. We'll come out and show you. And what they showed us was a 10-goal drubbing to a side that hadn't been known as great travellers. So they've got some work to do. St Kilda, Richmond, it's going to be as we thought. I mean, Richmond nicked that game against Carlton in the round one, but I think we know that it's going to be a pretty challenging season for them with all the young personnel that they do have. But credit to St Kilda here. They the last fortnight they have played some really good footy for Ross. They like to get the ball and roll. And, geez, I tell you what, there are a couple of players in this game for St Kilda that absolutely dominated. Jack Sinclair just checked in for a little bit of leather poisoning at the Alfred overnight there, Brad, just to make sure he was on the drip to get back to normality. A lot of leather through the bloodstream, 40 touches. Jack McRae got a heap of it, 31. He's been a great pickup. And, Wanganeen Malera is one of the sweeter movers in the game and a gorgeous user of the football. He's very important for them. Rowan Marshall, they put that experiment to the side of him playing as a pure forward and bringing in someone from the SANFL. He needs to play as a pure ruckman, as he has done the last 2 weeks, and he's been outstanding. So good stuff here for the Saints.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm worried about Uze. I don't think he's long for the caper. And look, there's good reports on him and all of that sort of stuff. But there are things, and you highlighted a couple of them, Shorty, that I had noted down here. If you have a look at the data, Marty, and I know you like it, over the last 18 months, the most dangerous 2 halfback flankers in the game, most productive have been Sinclair and Wanganeen Malera. and you don't put someone on one of them. I mean, just let them run wild. It was crazy. I mean, even Michael Voss, who's getting a lot of critique at the moment, he tries things. He threw Silvani back the other night, and he put. I wasn't sure where they were going to get their goals from. When Kemp went forward, he went forward in the game over your way last year. Remember, Shortte kicked 4 goals.
Correct.
So, but at least he's trying things. But I couldn't see Uze getting proactive at any stage, Marty, when you got 2 of the most dangerous halfback flankers in the game on the numbers. And you just let them run. Just let them run and run and run, and they just got absolutely torched. So I'm worried. I'm only worried for the kids. I'm not worried about Adam Uze's future. He can sort that out for himself. I'm worried about the kids because I don't want them to have the bejesus bashed out of them for a year before or a year and a half before someone comes in and tries to pick it up because the damage might already be done.
I think Rossi might have this group onto something here. They've got genuine speed. And I know you're not a big St Kilda Ross fan, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to go deep because they've got Henry to come back into this team. They've got Philippou to come back into the team. They've got Max King to come back into the team. They've got some genuine cattle to come back. But one thing they've got is genuine speed. Speed will win you more games than not.
And particularly on that, that's what they recruited Bradley Hill for initially when he went back there. At Marvel, they play a fair few games there, and they wanted him, cutting across the face of the ground in front of players, getting handballs received, moving the ball along, etc. No, I get it, and credit where credit's due. You can only, again, as we said, you can only play who you play, and they've come up with a nice and they beat Geelong the week before, which was a marked improvement and a really, really good win. I'm still in the queue that I'm happy to go against them. They'll be nuisance value, but I think there are better and a lot of sides around and better than them. That's
this other match, the 2 night matches that start at 4:35 simultaneously. Hawthorn played GWS. Only time they play each other, and they play them at Launceston in a night game. Brilliant marketing, brilliant fixturing there by the AFL. Hawthorn 76 beat GWS 64. And then tell us about that one, and then we'll talk about the Brisbane-Geelong game.
Well, it was remarkable. I mean, that ex-cyclone they had up in Queensland must have made its way down to Tasmania because it was blown to the left of the screen and unbelievable. The goalpost was shaking at the top, Marty. It was unbelievable, Shorty. And look, when they bounced out like that, I thought, wow, here we go. This is going to be hard work now. This is going to be a real test. I know the breeze can help you, but it doesn't do it all for you. And they were a mile in front, 30-odd points in front. I thought this is going to be hard work, but when they got on a roll, the ball movement by Hawthorn was just fascinating, and they were able to get the job done, and the game was up for grabs at half-time. Then you come out, and it's the Giants' turn to go with the breeze. They have 4 goals kicked against them into the breeze. I'm worried about that element of the game with Adam Kingsley because I'm talking about a smallish body of work, but the last 3 games when they've had good sides on the mat, and that's Brisbane, Sydney, and now Hawthorn, and couldn't close out any of them. I mean, that's a little bit of a worry. They talk about their set plays and their structures and their shapes and all of that sort of stuff. Well, any danger, when you've got that sort of a lead against quality sides that you put one away. So, look, I'm not going to jump off the ship just yet, but, I was disappointed. But, geez, they're going well, Hawthorn. There's no doubt about that. And they're going to be. And what about Lloyd Meek, who had a bit of a... Well, he was meek the week before, but he certainly wasn't mild last night. He really took the game by the scruff of the neck and led the way, and everybody joined in on the piggyback of him. So, well done to him. I think there's a few clubs in the AFL who'd like to have a ruckman at the moment.
Yeah, and was third banana at Fremantle, if you don't mind. Could not get a game. Just walk out the door. Off you go, mate. No problem at all. Watch him wander out, and we'll just keep 2.4 mil per year on the salary cap with the other 2 blokes there. Anyway, that's another issue for another time. But, yeah, hats off to him. Hats off to him because he's made the most of his opportunities. Couple of things. Great to see Jesse Hogan back in this game last night. He clunked a few. 4 goals was excellent, really important for GWS. And for me, what I love about watching Hawthorn is their ball movement. It is electric. When they get it right, they are such a clean side, and they're such a unique forward setup. And the little man, the wizard, Nick Watson, he only kicked 1 last night, but, geez, he puts pressure on inside that forward 50. He's a really dangerous little fellow. I enjoy watching his work. But I'm happy to sign off that these 2 sides are going to be right there when the whips are cracking. I think they're both elite sides.
Yep.
we had him in the top 4 at the start of the season. I don't think there's any reason to get away from that. But as you say, Marty and I have clipped onto the fact that you've got to stop the kick-ins for them, particularly, when that's when they get the catalyst to get it going. When they bring the ball in from the kick-in from full back, if they get that right early, that's when the overlap occurs and away they go on. They're down the ground and they're through the sticks and they roll all of their forwards up. They mix it up and, Gunston's moving well for a veteran, etc. They've got a little bit to work with, no doubt about that. And but as you say, it'll be interesting. Stringer was okay. He worked pretty hard. We found out that obviously I'm glad they didn't have that night day, Marty, where he has to keep he's got to have his skin folds under a certain number all year.
Well, that's good.
All the contracts off.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, exactly. They used to bring the jaws of life in for me. So
if he hasn't got the self-discipline to do it, then make him do it. Hang on, this is a scary part for Hawthorn. Dia, McDonald, Lewis, Scrimshaw, Warple, all missing.
Exactly.
They're to come back in. You can throw in that James Blank. He mightn't get back into the side down back. But that's scary.
Powerful.
That is scary.
Powerful.
Yeah, they are. Well, I've got the back six really well worked out now at the moment, haven't they? They can mix and match. Weedle's become the swing man. Weedle's as much a swing man as Sicily. He can go backwards and forwards, and that's another, really, really good thing to have up their sleeve. But as I say, it's a long year, and teams will be trying to work them out. They've been trying to work them out last year, and they'll certainly be trying to work them out now.
You certainly haven't made inroads into that yet. Now, Geelong, 61, they led Brisbane up by about 20-odd points, over 20 points.
32 they were at one stage.
Yeah, Brisbane just chipped away and got them late.
Yeah, I was worried about Brisbane because of that hot game last week and the heat, that they were playing in. And I thought and they weren't happy themselves, as you said, Marty. The scheduling was poor and bizarre at worst. But you get to a stage where I thought, there's a chance here Geelong might just get them early, Shorty. And they did. And I thought, half time, I'm on the right tram here. But in the second half, as they did last week against West Coast, they became a lot more methodical. They've got so much talent. They've just got so much talent all over the ground. Harris Andrews starts to take control of the back half. Zorko's zipping around, doing his thing. They chip the ball through the middle of the ground. They open up. The forwards roll up high up into the top end of the centre square, and they turn them inside out and they race them back. They just pulled them apart. I was disappointed with the lack of in running. The inability of Geelong to stop that run on. I know you can't fight or do anything anymore, but you've got to come up with better strategies than what they did last night. Because even at three-quarter time, they were still, even in the last quarter, they were right in the game. But again, it was just too much talent on the park for them, and they got the job done. Young Ashcroft there, Will in particular was really, really good. McGluggage, they were all getting plenty of the football, and they used it well. They used it far better last night in the second half than they even did against West Coast last week. So they're going to be hard to stop, Marty. I think they're staring at 1-2 with Hawthorn at the moment. They're probably both tracking Shorty to be 16-17, and that'll get the job done for him at the top of the ladder.
And it allows you to do some nice things late in the season with some of your older personnel when you find yourself with those really good records. And Brisbane, quite point blank, they're not going to be dropping too many, if any, at home through the season, which is a great advantage.
And Joe who?
Yeah, exactly.
I still think I'm still like last night. They were all singles, they're goal scorers, so they're not predictable as to who's going to kick their goals. But I think they would like to have a sort of big key forward put their hand up. I think in the off season they're going to be pushing pretty hard for someone like Oscar Allen, and I can understand why. That is the one missing piece of their forward 50. Because Hipwood, to be fair, he's not your key banana up front, and he's having to play that role at the moment. So they're still looking for that player, I think, long term. But they've got enough depth around the ground at the moment to still get away with it, I think, which is really interesting.
Morris has given him a target up front. He's playing pretty well.
Yep.
Not dominating, but he kicked 3 last week. He was there again last night, as I say, and he attracts attention, which is really good. So, it's onward and upward for the Brisbane Lions.
All right, we've got a couple of games today, Brad. I'm looking forward to both of these games. The first of them, for different reasons.
Yeah.
The first of these games is purely self-interest. I've got a few multis rolling into this game, total being over 187.5. But I'm loving watching Adelaide play this season. They're really open, quick ball movement, allows their dominant key forwards, Fogarty, Thilthorpe. They've got small, and then you've got Tex Walker on the third key tall defender, and then their smaller players. Ben Keys is in hot form. You've got Rankin. Also, last week we saw another of their smaller forwards chime in with 4 goals in Rochelle. Yep. They have got an embarrassment of riches inside that forward 50, and Dawson at the moment is probably one of the hottest pieces of property in the game. Saligo's really come on in the off-season. We see Crouch still getting plenty of the football. They have got it right in the middle and forward of centre, and they're a little leaky down back, which is why we'll play the total points over, but they've got enough gunpowder to put plenty of points on the board, and North Melbourne are going to have to play well to hold them out today.
Yeah, and then Clarko, I think, has been openly said we're happy to go to a shootout. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. The old Malcolm Blight theory, outscore them, and it should be a high-scoring game. So I'm with you on that one, Shorty, in regards to the overs. But as we know, in the last 18 months, 2 years, that Adelaide have invested heavily in that forward 50, and they've been able to elevate Rankin into the midfield, and he's become a real whiz around that. Dawson, as you said, they're controlling plenty of the football. Keys has pushed out of there. He's actually rolled forward and kicked a few goals. I think it was 4 last week, Shorty. So, yeah, they're finding different avenues to go. And as you say, they're just letting their back six fend for themselves pretty much. So, but North Melbourne, they'll get a lot of impetus out of that last quarter. Not so much the win, but the last quarter last week, they really turned it on. They put the afterburners on, and, you know, they played a really good brand of football themselves. So they'll be wanting to test themselves against a team that's unbeaten thus far. And, you know, with McKercher and Sheasel, we know all about Dan Zurha. Looks like he's putting in a bit more. So there's a lot to like about. And Cherry, I mean, he'll give them a chance. I mean, he's playing really good football. Should have probably been All-Australian ruckman last year. So there's a little bit to like about North Melbourne. I think Adelaide get it done, whether it's an arm wrestle or a shootout. I think they get it done today. But at least North fans will turn their TVs on or turn up to the gates if they choose to drive across and see that the team is improving.
100% agree with you there with Brad. Looking forward to Zeri versus O'Brien. That's going to be a terrific battle. 2 really in form ruckmen there. I want to see what North bring. You know what Adelaide are going to bring.
Yep.
And I said it right at the start. They're right here, right now. No injuries, no excuses. They are up and about, ready to go. They'll keep steamrolling teams. Have a look. They've given it to St Kilda, given it to Western. They'll beat, as I said, they'll beat better sides than that and beat them up big time. But I want to see what North do today. And I think they'll surprise a few. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but I would be disappointed if I'm a North fan if you come away with a 10-goal loss and they didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they could still get beat by 10, and they could play well.
Yeah, exactly. They can. Yeah, that's how well Adelaide are going right at the minute.
I think Tab Toucher got the market right. I think the line's about 39.5. So, you know, I think that'd be
about it.
You're not looking. You're not looking for honourable losses, but you're looking for something. As I say, it's not all about their win-loss. Of course, they want to win, but it's not all about it. It's just what their style of football, what they're trying to do, and they showed us a little bit last week. Even though they smashed Melbourne, but they showed us. They thought, this might be if they can adopt this on a more regular basis, as you say, Marty, sustain it for longer periods of time in each quarter. It's something to look forward to if you're a Kangaroo.
The recruitment of Parker, Darling and Daniel straight away has made them a 3 to 4 goal more competitive side. Week in, week out. They're ultra professional. They've been there. They've done it. They're teaching the kids. This is how you front up and play professional football. They are living up to their end of the bargain. Bradley, the big one locally, the Western Derby. Yeah. Now, this is a really important game for the Fremantle Football Club. Lots of raps on them in the pre-season and the build-up to this season. They're zipped to. They can ill afford to drop the 4 points that are available in this contest. West Coast $4, Freo $1.25. The line's at 25.5. Total points 167.5. Give us your thoughts on this afternoon's encounter.
It's just a must for Fremantle. They've just got to get off the mark. There's no doubt about that. Looking forward to seeing young Dudley make his debut there. So he's come along really, really quickly after being brought across, which is just fantastic. But again, I said to Marty on and off air, Shorty, that Fremantle just don't move the ball quick enough, and you don't have to be told that. Your eyes tell you that. You can see that, and the data backs it up, unfortunately, and so they haven't really got a leg to stand on. They need to be moving the ball quicker because Amos has been quiet this year. It's been really left up to Tracy to do all of the heavy lifting at the moment. He needs some help down there. They've got the opportunity to have Jackson, who I believe's got Dean Cox tight, set of skills. He's got the ability to run around the ground, good below the knees, take a mark, work it in the ruck, kick a goal. He's really got to maximise his opportunities today and could well win the Glendenning Allen medal if he puts his best foot forward. But because he really doesn't have much to worry about. I'm worried about Williams. I'm not sure exactly. He came off in the first half last week. They said cramp, bizarre. He didn't come back and he hasn't trained a lot this week. But anyway, so here's a real chance for Luke Jackson to set his imprimatur on the game, I would have thought. So I don't understand why young Hall got left out, Marty, to be honest. Now, I'm not saying he's one of the greats of the game, but he did a really good job last week, and I thought, well, you only have to look at the blueprint that Dean Cox gave them last week. You'd say, well, listen, Haldie, you go to Sarong, or go to Brayshaw and see if you can. You're not going to beat them up, but you might be able to limit them because those two, if you can curtail them, as you say, and they're not feeding the ball out to the other runners, that will help things. So I'm a little bit surprised about that. My main concern for West Coast is that game last week. I know sports science is a wonderful thing, Shorty, but I suspect if West Coast are to test Fremantle, they have to get them early, they have to roll back, make it really, really clumsy for Fremantle's forward line, get the ball, get the score on the board at half-time and give Fremantle something to chase. But I just suspect that if Fremantle can weather the storm in the first half, I think they'll run over them in the second half. And the line looks about right. It looks about if Fremantle can't not only win this game but not beat them by a goal a quarter, there's something not right because West Coast are still in the moulding game, and Fremantle are supposed to be in flag mantle territory. So they not only need to win, they need to win well. And I think if they can't outscore them by a goal each quarter, there's something not right.
Okay, Bradley, text line here for Group 1 Mords and Retrovision. Going into round 4 of the AFL, there will be 3 sides without a win. Carlton, Melbourne, West Coast or Freo. Which coach will be first to go? I believe Goodwin has lost the respect of his players, watching them in 3 games, in all 3 games, and players are playing for themselves, closely followed by Voss, same problem. That is from Snoz. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I don't think the players aren't playing for Vossi. I think they've shown in all 3 games that they've been more than competitive. They sort of haven't been blown off the park, have they? So there's no doubt they need an adjustment here and there to be able to stay in the games. But Goodwin would be the concern for me because I think that we forecast that even though they talked all summer. Now it's time to put up, as Shorty said. They haven't put up. I reckon it's only going to be eroded week in, week out now. And, I think there'll be some movement regardless of contract situation between now and the end of the year.
Okay, Eagle fans going to do the bird at the 9-minute mark is immature, pathetic, encouraging Harley Reid and teaching kids if someone pees you off, it's okay to give the up yours finger. If it's not cool, it's dumb. Brad, you've played a lot of football. Would there be players at Freo who've worked their butts off not being able to get regular games? And here's a new kid on the block, Isaiah Dudley, been there 5 minutes, played 2 waffle games, debuting in the Derby. Would that not cause some friction? Surely the AFL...
I'm sure.
Yep, okay. Go with that one now. Answer that.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's quite professional jealousy in every sport. So, but I'm not worried about that. I mean, the kid, you can't blame the kid for he didn't pick himself. He's come across and he's obviously shown them enough, and they want to. They've had a few blokes have had a few chances and they haven't been able to get it done. So, I understand that. There will be an element of that, no doubt. Now, with the bird, as I said on 6PR yesterday, if you want to be an enabler or a facilitator, go right ahead. But if you're going on a trip to the back of your mind, it wouldn't be a long one, because I don't think it'd be worthwhile doing that. Encouraging, don't frank that form, because we talk about it all the time. We talk about setting examples, for kids, and the players have to. They're not role models, but when they're out on the football field, you expect them to live up to higher expectations. And if you're going to endorse someone giving the bird to someone over because someone called your name over the fence, well, you need to be playing a different game, as far as I'm concerned. And and if you you want to be a champion for some stupid cause like that, go right ahead. But if you get called a moron, don't be surprised.
Surely the AFL will have to penalise players after another episode in Richmond and Saints game. We see another player being pushed into another player, resulting in concussion. Eagles, to win the Derby, will have to be the Hunters right from the bounce down and play like they did against Brisbane. Take care. Enjoy your day. Have a great week. Eagles by 13. Harley for the medal. That is Lisa of Allenbrook.
Good luck, Lise.
Yeah, if Harley wins a medal, I'll go eat. Anyway, that's just me. I just think that what they've got to do, I think Fremantle will win this game, and there's no doubt there was an incident in that game last night between St Kilda and Richmond. It's going to be a hard one to prove. Look, there's plenty that want to put them on the map, but they haven't done it so far, Shorty. You know, it started with Ginby at Mineral Resources Park in the pre-season. No one's acted on it yet. I think Mansell would be a little unlucky. I get it. I understand the sentiment. But, yeah, I'd be surprised. Look, they might start him at 3 weeks and appeal it and see how they go. But I don't think at one point I think he was just trying to get off his man because they were both coming in to try and crumb a contest. So but I'm not sure his intent was there to push his opponent into an oncoming player.
Last one, Brad, and then we've got to get moving. This is from Frank. Morning. So Longmuir has picked a player that's been in the club for 5 minutes and looks like a half forward. So does that mean that the big recruit Bolton, who was picked and was to be the player to forward Freo into the finals, is Bolton now to play in the back line? That is from Frank.
No. He'll play high half forward, Bolton, as I say. And look, they've got a little bit of the cavalry to come yet. I mean, I know Fifey's been playing. It's a tragedy for him. I feel sorry for a champion having to, cool his jets, and I think he's going to have to cool his jets for a little longer too as well. You know, Sonny Walters is on the sidelines. But when you look at that, I mean, Young's the one for me, Shorty. Once they get him back, that'll make a big difference. And I'd have Young on one side with the left foot, and I'd have Shy Bolton on the other side with the right foot. And that's what I'd be saying to Brayshaw and Sarong. Every time you get it, feed it to them, let them kick it, and you boys just do your industrial stuff at ground level and give the ball to them, and I think you will see that there'll be an improvement because that will maximise and at least put a little bit of speed on the ball, which we know and say all of the time that Fremantle are lacking at the moment.
Big time, and that will change the entire look and feel because you've got a big fella up there, Tracy, who outmarks most people now one-on-one, so they need to get extra numbers back. That creates an outnumber opportunities for the boys. So we'll wait and see how that pans out. Should be a great game though, Bradley. Looking forward to that. What about a Sunday saviour? Have you got something for the punters for this Sunday?
Yeah, I need to get something back. I'm just... B. Bardo, has that got out yet? I'm not sure. Anyway, Barry Crocker. Warrior Within, race 1.
You found
number
it.
6. Yes.
You found it. It's mine.
Race 1.
Well done.
Race 1, number 6, Warrior Within. We'll kick that off at 3:20, Shorty. We'll go to race 4, number 8. Scintillante, $1.70. So I think Blake's in on there. I think that's the put in and take out. And then we'll go to Wagga. Race 6, number 6. Named after you, Marty Eagle. 1 day's back at Northbridge. Dance Enough.
Oh,
Dance Enough. So race 1, number 6, Warrior Within at sale. Race 4, number 8, Scintillante at sale. And race 6, number 6, Dance Enough. Just at Wagga at 480. That's 28.56, Marty.
Whoa. That's a ripper. Now, just on that race 1 at sale, I was telling Shorty, number 4, Lord Bartas. Have a look at its form.
Yes.
3 starts ago was in a Group 1 Commonwealth Cup at Royal Ascot, 1,200 metres, got beaten 7 lengths. Second horse, Lake Forest, won the Golden Eagle. What's that worth? About 12 million or something last year. And this horse has had 2 trials, but I'm with you. We're going to take him on with Warrior Within. Looks a really nice horse for Julius Sandu.
Yes, he does. He does. He might have a couple of winners there today, Julius. Okay. So I think he's got one called Oxford something a bit later in the day as well.
All right.
Which should go right. But so I think that'll do me and Ginger, $28.56 there today, Shorty. So for Group 1 Morts, just look above your head there, Marty, and there he is. There's his picture of Morts. He's there. He's always on the wall.
Hall of Fame.
Nude Nut, 1-800-100-100. He can do things to Banks Card. He's going to ripper. Don't forget Frankie Lee at Ross's Auctions. He's a beauty too, boys. Have a great day. Enjoy the Derby.
See you, Bradley.
On you, Bradley.
Yeah, boys.
slower. Yes Queen quickly drops off. May this be the one. Rigatoni third. Exceed the Boom to the outside as he clicks up. Yes Queen. She pricks her ears at the 200 mark. A length and a half in front. Fine Star getting home well behind them. Luana Miss coming down the outside. He gets desperate on Yes Queen. Luana Miss has got her. Luana Miss races up, grabs the lead, and Luana Miss has caused an upset here. Beat Yes Queen. Tucanco flew.
Supremacy Stakes yesterday, and the Bivouac filly Luana Miss too good. She was very, very impressive, and her trainer Trevor Andrews joins us on the aftermath. Hi, Trev.
Morning, guys. How we doing?
Good. You'd be feeling top of the world this morning. How'd she pull up?
Yeah, pulled up really well. Yeah, just took her down for a little swim down the road, and she's a happy horse, so didn't sleep too well last night, hoping that she pulled up good, but she certainly has.
That's great news. And obviously when you get to race day, there's a lot of boom about one of the horses that you're taking on, Trev. There's a lot of excitement as well. But to get it done on the day and know that you've got a horse that's going to be right there in contention for all of the juvenile features must be really satisfying.
Yeah, sure is. She's always showed an abundance of ability, so especially with the filly, lovely to get that black type win next to her name. It adds really good value to her. And it'll be a bonus going on to if she can perform well in these other races.
Geez, your old mate Sean O'Donnell, you've relied on him with your 2-year-olds so much over the years, haven't you? He's been terrific for them for you.
Yeah, we've had a really good association. He's a good team player, Sean, and he seems to get the job done for us more often than not.
He's just such a reliable campaigner, isn't he? And I know that on race day he does a wonderful job, but his work ethic, he's such a refreshing character to have within the sport. He's a mentor for many, but he's just such a lovable character. And he on big race days, he knows how to turn up and deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. He gets on really good with all the owners. Pre-race and post-race, his feedback's second to none. And, we're certainly happy to have him involved.
So, like all of your very good horses and your young horses, wife Jo seems to be riding track work on them, and Dong has said that this filly can be a little bit itsy at the track.
Yeah, she's been a work in progress. She's quite hot. She's starting to sort of learn to chill out a bit more, but the wife Jo does most of the work on her, and she gives her a hard time most mornings. So Sean does sort of the main gallops leading up to races, but Joanne does the majority of the other work on her, and she's always, I value her judgment. She's always had a really good opinion of this filly. She said she seems to have the X factor. Early on she identified her, so well done to Jo.
A lot of races, Trev, are decided in the first 100, 200 metres of a race, and I think this race was as well, because Yes Queen went out and they gassed up underneath her and she had to work, and when all that was going on, Donga just had your filly back on a cotton thread into that trailing position where he wanted to be.
Yeah, it worked out beautiful. My concerns leading into the race that she was going to get caught 3 deep, have a tough run, which I didn't want going forward. She went into the race a bit on the soft side. I reckon she was probably about 75% right. She'd only come off a 400-metre trial, had a couple of easy gallops leading into it. So I knew that she was going to come through this race and derive a good bit of improvement with the run under her belt. So, yeah, my concern was that she'd have a tough run. But as it worked out, there was a lot of top-end speed. She got into a lovely spot, was able to come off the bridle and conserve energy, and she's got a really, really good turn of foot. Her point-to-point speed is very sharp.
Trev, in that regard, you would no doubt be delighted with the way things panned out, because it was anything but a gut buster, and to have that improvement still to come off a run like this, which is effectively a really nice fitness run, means there's plenty still to come for the remainder of the preparation. Just on the horse itself, Luana Miss, can you tell us a little bit about how you became or how you came about acquiring it, and what led you towards getting involved with this girl?
Oh, she's just, we go to the yearling sales every year, and we try and buy the fast ones. She was a bivouac filly, bred by Darling View. She looked pretty sharp. Bivouac was the first season sire. He was a pretty good horse himself. He won a Newmarket and a couple of other Group 1s. She was just a good type, good forward type. So this filly was actually the first bivouac winner in Australia.
Yep.
So, just liked her as a type. She looked sharp. She's not a big filly by any means. She's a bit petite. When you look at horses, we go to the sales, we try and buy the best-looking ones, but the best-looking ones are generally not the fastest. It's the size of the motor and that counts, which nobody can actually pick. But she looked pretty neat and tidy, and she looked sharp and early. I sort of try and buy these earlier types. You want all your owners up and about sort of for the Magic Millions Caracatta, and hopefully they got a few dollars in their pocket to play on again at the next sale. So that's why we sort of went about purchasing her, and it's worked out good so far.
Just on that, Trev, I've got a couple of old cricket mates that are involved in the ownership with this horse, and there's a really strong ownership group. It must be tremendous as a trainer when you've got a big group like this. You can have success, but importantly, you can enjoy the ride together. And what it does do, it brings big groups of people together to go and have a great time at the track, win, lose or draw. And when you've got a horse that's got ability like Luana Miss, they're going to have a hell of a ride. But I know those guys, they have been on our social media feed, and they've been on Messenger, and the build-up's been great. So we've sort of enjoyed a bit of the ride with them, and that was a big thrill for a lot of them there yesterday.
Oh, absolutely. We started this men's syndicate quite a few years back, 20 share men's syndicate, and we started off with all the King's men, and we got a lot of good men, Defined Beautiful, and then this filly. So the men's syndicates have been very successful and obviously very popular.
Trev, where to now for her, that traditional lead up to go into the Gym Crack and then the Caracatta?
Yeah, that's the plan. Gym Crack in 2 weeks in the Caracatta, all going well. So that's the next filly. The next race, the Gym Crack's going to be pretty hot. There's a couple of other good fillies that never went round Saturday. There's that nice schnitzel filly of Adam Durant's, and Ted Martinovich's Playing God filly that won last week, and Danny Morton's got a pretty nice Playing God filly. So it's not going to get any easier from here on, but I think we're in a good position. She didn't draw too well Saturday, so hopefully she can draw a little bit more favourable next start. But no, we're on the right track at this present moment.
How's Dealer In going?
Yeah, she went in the paddock. She just sort of felt her knees a little bit. She's always been a bit like that. So we were sort of quite conscious that she'd had 4 runs her first racing campaign. It would have been nice to play on, but we think she's a filly with a really good future. So we just decided to sort of put her away and give her a bit more time to develop.
And just one last one for you, Trev. The latest on All Play. I saw it was at the trials there recently, not too far away from getting back to the races.
Yeah, I did have in mind to run him in the Rock Magic yesterday, but he only had a rating of 80, so he would have accumulated too many rating points. So there's I think 19th of April, there's a 72+ thousand. So that's where we'll aim for him. Just let him go through his grades a bit more. Otherwise, he's good.
Trev, thanks for coming on the program this morning. Well done. And I'm sure, as Shorty said, that big group of owners had a great night last night and be looking forward to the Gym Crack and the Caracatta.
Cheers, guys. Much appreciated.
Well done, Trev.
Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at its best on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Flew out with Ripon Moses. Ripon Moses takes the lead. Away from Rare Speed, who ran a bit wide at the first turn. Railing west on Booney. Deeper out Maximum Cuna. Bezecchi's a long way back with Sunset Serengeti and Aston Smoky. It's Ripon Moses. 5 lengths ahead of west on Booney. Zooming into second. Giving chase very quickly. And then Rare Speed and Bezecchi. Ripon Moses 3 ahead. West on Booney, Bezecchi are flying home, but it's all too late. Ripon Moses has won from West on Booney, Bezecchi.
Joining us is Shayne Williams to talk about the win in the Lou Dawson Memorial Heats. G'day, Shayne Train.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. How are we today, boys?
Going well, thank you, Train. Great to be catching up with you. Congratulations. This was a ripper win from your dog, Ripon Moses, there last night. Showed excellent early pace, and that was pretty much the last they saw of the dog. West on Booney was making up solid ground, Bezecchi, but Ripon Moses just kept on trucking up front.
Yeah, no, it was a really good win, Shorty. sort of do that when he can get left alone in front. Last week his run was pretty poor. He had dogs all around him, and I don't think he sort of wanted to put his hand up and be there last week. So it was a much better run this week, and he's really done a good job. He's basically held up the kennel while a few of the other dogs have been out injured. So he's been racing week to week, and it was a great result last night.
Of course, he's the full brother to Iconic Jet, who's the pin-up boy from the kennel, but they both sort of travelled together and gone and had an assault on a couple of the East Coast juvenile features over the last 9 months or so. At the time when chatting to you, we discussed the long-term benefits of it, whether it was a winning result at the time or not. So often animals that travel and go to the East Coast, they often come back closer to a furnished article, and I think Rippin' Moses has really borne the fruit of those travels early on in his career.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Shorty. He's always been a little bit behind the other dog in ability-wise, but I think the consistent racing week to week and, where he wants to be is out in front, and if he can get the arm and, a little bit of trouble behind, I think we've seen what he could do last night. That's his PB, and there was a bit of a strong wind in up their backsides last night, so it's probably why he's gone a PB there last night.
Have they had the box draw yet for the Lou Dawson Memorial?
Yeah, we drew 7,
Oof.
Which is probably not too bad.
Okay.
He's got a not a bad record from out there, and I think the only speeds seem to be Cody Charles's dogs, Rare Speed and Aston Nero. They're in 3 and 4, so. If he can get the start right like last night, he'd be up there early, and it's just a matter of whether he gets any luck around that first turn. Yeah,
if he runs to that performance again from last night, he's certainly going to be one of the key prospects in that final there next week. It'd be a nice race to win, one of the coveted features on our calendar, the Lou Dawson Memorial Trophy. Train, no doubt you would have seen last night across there, Wentworth Park was Golden Easter Egg Heat Night, and success for West Aussie was great. Well done to Dave Hobby, taking out the first of those heats with Sunset Hornet, who nailed the start and was able to hold out some really smart dogs. It was an excellent effort.
Yeah, it went like a rocket, surely, similar to what she did in the consolation of the Perth Cup. And good to see all 3 Perth dogs got through to the semi-finals next week. So I think this NB scraped through as the quickest 4. So she'll be in as well. And it'll be a 3-prong attack next week. We've got to run top 2 next week to get into the Easter egg.
Of course, Big Energy was a WA-owned dog that did most of its early racing here in WA, and well done to Kirsty Moore and Connections. Had a couple of starts to settle in over there in Wentworth Park and was a wonderful winner last night. So next Saturday night, the semi-finals will continue on, and we'll keep everyone posted with the prospects of the West Aussies across there in New South Wales, and we'll be cheering hard for you next week in that Lou Dawson Memorial Trophy final. We'll hear from you tomorrow morning, Train, with the boys on the Sports Daily, but well done on that big win there last night at Cannington.
Thanks very much, boys. I'm about to put myself into some pain watching the Eels get flogged again today. Thanks,
good luck with that. Bye, mate.
See you, boys.
There he goes, Shayne Train Williams, and late one from Jim Pommy Pie. He's going for a draw.
A draw?
In the Big Western Derby.
$51 normally. Good luck to you, Jimmy the Pommy Pie. Good luck to everyone. Enjoy Western Derby Day. Good luck with both of your sides, whoever you barrack for. And going back, plenty of winners today. A lot of fun this morning, Marty.
Thanks for coming in.